Selling a house and buying a house at the same time is one of the toughest things to do in real estate, but it can be done if you know what you're doing. And I'm about to show you how to do it. Let's go. So selling a house and buying a house at the same time is one of the toughest things you can do in real estate. And it sounds simple, but it's not, because you're selling a house and you would need the proceeds from that house to purchase another property. So you really need to close on that house first, get that money, and then use that money to buy the house that you're interested in purchasing. So in all of this, guys, if you're looking to buy a property and you need the proceeds, you need the cash from the property you're living in now, which is most people's situation, like you want to buy a house and you need the down payment, and that down payment's coming from the profit that you're getting from your house, the proceeds. So you need that to purchase your other house. And in order to get that, you need to sell your house first. And selling your house first can be a same-day closing. So you can line things up to where you actually do a same-day closing, and you do a closing on the property you're selling first thing in the morning, 9 o'clock, and then you're doing a closing on the property you're purchasing at 2 o'clock or whatever that is. So you can be funded, or the attorneys can be funded for the property that you're selling, and they can actually just wire the funds to the property that you're purchasing, and then you can get any excess funds from that transaction. So there's a few things on what makes this tough. The first thing is the contingency of having to find something, right? This is a two-sided thing here. You're looking to sell a house and you can't really sell it because you don't know what you want to buy yet, and you can't buy something yet because you haven't sold your house. So what the hell do you do? Well, first off, you hire an agent that knows what they're doing, but here are some strategies that are going to help you do that, whether you're a homeowner or a real estate agent. Logically, you might think, let me find something first, because if I don't find something and have something to move to, then I can't sell my house and I don't want to be homeless. That's the logical thinking, but it's the wrong way of thinking. Here's the right way to do it in a way that you're not going to end up homeless as long as you trust the process. First thing, put your property on the market. You have to put your property on the market, and you have to find and secure a buyer who will buy your property. And here's sort of the fine print here. You have to find a buyer that has some flexibility, someone that's not looking to move in there by a certain day and have to close on a certain day. Maybe someone who, has a month-to-month agreement, or they're living in a situation that is just not so rigid. So you can secure a buyer, and that's one of the things that you would look for, especially if there's a multiple offer situation. So we've been in a market the last few years where there's multiple buyers for one property. So you can actually have that conversation either with the buyers themselves or the buyer's agents and let them know the situation. You really need to have that home sale contingency to where you are selling this property. However, it's going to be contingent upon those sellers finding suitable housing. So that basically means for all them homeowners, you could put your property on the market, secure a buyer, but you don't have to sell it unless you find suitable housing. That housing has to be suitable for you. So it just can't be, you find something, it has to be suitable for you, which you deem that suitable. Rather than leaving things sort of open-ended and saying it's contingent upon the seller finding suitable housing, I think it's always a good idea to put a time frame on it. So rather than it's contingent upon finding suitable housing, how long is it going to take for that suitable housing to be found? Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be 2 months? Is it going to be ever? Are these people going to be picky? I mean, there's just so many factors. So you really want to have that conversation with the seller, especially if you're representing them, and saying, hey, look, we're basically holding these buyers hostage for this amount of time. Like they can't buy another house. They're hoping that you find suitable housing. So we really need to put our best efforts in finding something. And typically what I suggest is that you put a time frame on it, like 30 days. And that way it's contingent upon the seller finding suitable housing within 30 days, or identifying suitable housing within 30 days. And once that suitable housing is found, then you can line up the closings. So what happens if suitable housing is not found in 30 days? Well, at that point, you can put language in there that says, contingent upon finding suitable housing within 30 days. If no suitable housing is found, then the contract basically voids, or unless there's an extension that's agreed upon by both sides, maybe for an additional 30 days or additional 2 weeks. But I would leave it at 30 days to begin with. That way the seller has some time frame to operate from, and the buyer knows that they're just not going to be held hostage for eternity. So you do this for a couple of reasons. You need to have that to protect the seller. If you're a homeowner looking to sell your property, you need to have that to where it protects you, unless you have somewhere to go, and that's the ideal situation. So you're probably not watching this video if you have somewhere to go, because you would just do that. In the perfect real estate scenario, you would sell your house and you wouldn't need to find suitable housing. You would just go live with a family member or wherever. But in this case, you would have that to protect you, so you wouldn't have to sell your house and not have anywhere to go just in case you didn't find anything. The other thing is, when you're buying a house, nobody wants to accept an offer with a home sale contingency. Meaning, if you're a seller, you don't want a buyer coming along saying, yeah, I'll buy your house, but I have to sell my house. And then you're like, well, this may never go down. How do I know you're gonna sell your house? How do I know how you're gonna price your house? How do I know if your prices aren't crazy and you're a psychopath and you're never gonna sell your property? So it's kind of like, it's a fake offer for real. Like, if you look at an offer that's being brought to the table and it has a home sale contingency, I hate them as an agent, and you should too if you're a seller. You want an offer that's clean, no home sale contingency. So, with that being said, if you do have a home sale contingency, you need to basically sell it to the other side and let them know, hey, we do have a home sale contingency, but we've already secured a buyer. We don't have to put our property on the market. We already went through that trouble, put the property on the market, and we got a buyer, and we already signed the purchase and sales, and they already did their home inspection, and so they're already teed up. So you can basically sell that to the other side to let them know, hey, look, we're just waiting for you to say yes to our offer, and we can kick everything into gear. So it just becomes a lot more sellable to the side that you're hoping to get your offer accepted from. Now, if it's a market that's not competitive, you don't have much to worry about. You can just put a home sale contingency and they have no other choice but to accept your offer. But in a competitive market, when a seller has other choices, you really don't want any contingency tied to the deal that's gonna have your offer overlooked, right? So that's something to think about and something that I highly encourage. The other thing you can do is you can totally remove that contingency on the purchase. So if you're purchasing a property, if you feel confident enough in the buyer that's buying your home, then you could set it up to where their financing contingency is much more sooner than your financing contingency on your side of the offer. So if you have a financing contingency of whatever date, just have the one that from the buyer that much sooner. That way you know for sure that you're going to get the funds from that property to close, and otherwise your financing is really not going to go through anyway. So guys, it is possible to close on the same day. It's possible for you as a seller to actually negotiate you staying in a property later than your closing date by doing a use and occupancy. So this is something, again, if you have the right real estate agent with the right negotiating skills, these are all little things that come into play that you wouldn't think about until they become stressful and you're like, oh man, I gotta close, and I gotta close on both properties on the same day, and I gotta move on the same day. Whereas if you had someone who had the negotiating ability to allow you to stay in the property for days after you close and still close on that property you're buying, you could have a lot more smoother transition from the property that you're selling and the property you're buying, and you don't have to actually hand over your keys from the property you're selling, but you do get the keys from the property you're buying. It just makes things a lot easier where you don't have to move in the same day. And trust me, I did it before and it sucked. It just wasn't something that I recommended or wanted any of my clients to experience. So I try to make sure to make this an easy process. Guys, these are all things that make me laugh when I see someone selling their house or buying a house that's not represented by an agent, because they just don't know these things. A lot of people in the industry don't know these things. Never mind if you're not an agent, right? So it just makes me laugh sometimes, because if I'm involved in a transaction and that person's not represented by an agent, I am taking full advantage of everything that I want to do in that transaction for me and my client. That's just how it is. I am leading with what I want to see happen in that transaction. So not to say that can't happen if an agent's on the other side, but it's so much more likely to happen if there's not an agent on the other side. So you want to be able to, if you're watching this and you're an agent and you're training and looking to add this into your toolbox, great. But if you're someone out there that's watching this that is a seller or a buyer, these are all the reasons why you should be hiring an agent, to make sure that you have all these not just that you know about them, but you know actually how like the little nuances, the little details and how to negotiate them. It's not just always like, what is this, and understanding it. It's how to explain it to the other side so they agree to it, right? So don't cut yourself short. Don't try to save a couple bucks here and there. Hire someone that matters if you're out there looking for an agent. And if you are an agent, hopefully you're taking all this in and you're going to implement it into the marketplace, all right? So hopefully you learned a thing or two by watching this video. If you liked it, click the subscribe button, like it, hit the notification bell so you can check out other videos, and yeah, browse my channel. Hopefully there's some other content on here that you like, and I will catch you on the next one. Deuces!